Hey guys, if you guys didn't already know, my husband and I just started a new business and I've just been working my butt off to keep up with it. And I haven't had time for my bottles, but I miss them so much. But let's get started on today's story. So here's another small town bottle from Reading, Pennsylvania. It says Fett and Son. It's got a big F and S on the back. It would have had a lightning enclosure. It's a tooled blob top. It's got a few lip chips. It's blown in looks like a 3-piece mold. It's got a few nice bubbles. So let's see what we can find out on this beauty, on this episode of Antique Bottle Stories. Okay, so our story is about a guy named John Henry Fett, born in 1830 in Germany. He emigrated to America when he was 22. When he was 34 in 1864, he and a friend named Christian Schick took over this dude named Herman Floto's business. Now, Floto was in the porter ale, stout, lager, beer, sarsaparilla, and mineral water business. And this 1864 newspaper article says that he would deliver all over town. Now, this article is talking about how Schick and Fett are now successors to this business, and it lets its readers know that all the customers should expect the same service they got with Herman Floto. It also mentions that any unreturned bottles out there need to be returned promptly. By this 1866 city directory, they've been in business for 2 years now. And I've noticed the address here is 35 North 9th Street. When I plug that into Google Maps, it could be this building. Now this building is numbered in the 40s, so I don't know, maybe. Now here's the 1870 census, showing John Fett and his family. His wife is Frederica, his 2 sons, John Jr. and George Jacob, and a daughter named Catherine. In 1877, we've been in business now for about 13 years, still at the same location. The business is listed under soda water, and John Jr. is now old enough to start working with his dad. He's 19 now, so he's keeping the books. Here's a little snippet in the paper in February 1877 that a permit has been granted to the Schick and Fett Company for a 2.5-story wagon house on the west side of Moss Street between Court and Washington. I think this is the same location. In 1880, we see John is almost 50 now. His boys are 20 and 22, and even though John Jr. is working at the shop, he's listed as a plumber here. And George Jacob is apprenticing to be a tinsmith. Then in 1890, Christian Schick, Fett's business partner, apparently was suddenly stricken with paralysis on his right side. After a doctor checked him out, apparently he was well enough to walk home. It says that he was able to converse intelligently with his friends and family, but later in the afternoon he could no longer hold a conversation, and a few hours later he was unconscious, never to wake up. And at this point they had been in business for 26 years. Now, after Schick's death, John Fett partnered with his son, John Jr., and it became John H. Fett and Son. Now, my bottle doesn't say John H. Fett and Son, it just says Fett and Son. Here's 1897, and we see George Jacob is also bottling with them too. I guess he's not a tinsmith anymore? Well, a couple more years pass, and John Fett Sr. died in 1900. It says he died of apoplexy, which is basically a stroke. He had been ill for about a year, and it said that he had been in business for 36 years now. He died shortly before his 70th birthday. So after John Sr. died, the 2 sons, John Jr. and George Jacob, are now running the business. They keep the name John Fett and Son. Here's a glimpse of John Jr.'s household in 1900. He's 42 and he's married to Kate, and this shows that they had 2 children, neither of them are alive. Aww. Then, John Jr. died in 1904, just 4 years after his dad died. He was just 46 years old. The newspaper says that for the past 4 years he had been in bad health, and for the last year it had been pretty serious. Interesting that he was in bad health since his dad died, huh? He was also stricken with apoplexy about 3 months ago, but had somewhat recovered, only to have a second stroke followed by a third last week. It says he passed away as though falling into a gentle sleep. Now that's the way to go, but he was way too young. So after John Jr. died, his brother, George Jacob, who I guess just goes by Jacob now, is now running the business by himself. And the business is still at that same address. So I see him running this business until 1918 here, which, by the way, his mom is still alive. The city directory skips 1919, and then here in 1920, Jacob is listed as a tinsmith, and the bottling company is no more. But it looks like him and a bunch of the Fett family are still hanging out in that bottling location, including John Jr.'s widow. So George Jacob would have run this thing for about 14 or 15 years by himself. So let's see, 1864 till 1920. That's a 56-year run. That's not bad. So it was Schick and Fett until 1890, and I found a few examples of some Schick and Fett bottles online. And then it was called Fett and Son from 1890 till 1920. So I would date this bottle from somewhere between the 1890s to maybe the early 1910s, I'd say. I did find a few variations out there, given the business's longevity. I found a few versions that actually say J.H. Fett and Son as opposed to just Fett and Son like mine does, and that's a really nice touch. And then I found this photo, which is the lightning enclosure porcelain stopper, which would have been on my bottle. And in case you are wondering, Jacob died in 1939 at the ripe old age of 80. So I hope everyone's doing well out there. I hope after we get settled in a little bit I can get back to my bottles. But anyway, you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.